I want to circle back to something you have referenced a couple of times already in our conversation, and that is the notion that in the mid-1980s, the Liberals seemed out of gas and needed some refreshing.
Right.
And here we are in 2024, and you have made the comparison that it may not be dissimilar. In fact, can I put it this way? Towards the end of your book, you have a chapter on Justin Trudeau's broken promises, lack of interest in foreign affairs, indifference, as you call it, to poorer countries. You say he has basically gone AWOL on the world stage. This is very tough stuff.
Yes, it is.
For a current Prime Minister, Liberal, to hear from a former Liberal cabinet minister. Why'd you put all that in there?
Because I was hoping that as the Prime Minister and his cabinet and the other Liberals in the caucus do some reckoning about where we're at right now, that they realize that there has to be some real change in the way things happen. It's not just the policies, it's how you get there and how you arrive at choices. And I believe, I was asked the other day at an event I was at, how are you going to vote this next time? I said, I'm going to vote for a Liberal because we want to ensure that whatever happens in the election, win, lose, draw, you want to have good Liberals left to help redefine the party, to start thinking about what liberalism means. And that means that the ministers or individual MPs who really deserve to be returned or new people should be brought in. This is a chance to revive and start. You talked about the Rat Pack in post-84. Mm-hmm. I think we need a similar kind of transfusion of new ideas and blood, and there's certainly enough young men and women out there who could do it.
Well, what happened to the 2015 Trudeau Liberals who said, Canada's back?
Well, we're not. Socially, I think the government, as I say, has done some really good things. Internationally, we no longer are engaged, as we had been since 1945, on the issue of nuclear proliferation. We always said that we can speak up for the countries who aren't nuclear powers because we were once a nuclear power and we decided to abrogate that. Yeah. We didn't want to be part of that. So we've always had a kind of legacy we could bring to bear. There's been a major development, a treaty that arrived to the abolition of nuclear weapons. We don't even send people to attend the meetings. We don't have any, I can't think of anybody in our government who speaks out on that fundamental issue.
Well, we've had 5 foreign ministers in the last, 6, 7 years.
Right.
How long did you have the job for?
Going on 5 years.
Okay, so something's changed.
Yeah, well, I think that's partly that revolving door. I do think that the present Foreign Minister, Mélanie Joly, is going on her 3rd year, and I think she's kind of getting some footing. She's beginning to try to put some new sort of statements and sort of, well, I guess what you would call paradigms into our discussion. But there's not a lot of support. And what is missing, Stephen, is that we spend a lot of time working with Canadians to have them feel that they were involved in making those decisions. Right now, it's all top-down interest, and we're missing a huge amount of energy. And plus, I think, as you know, we may get to this in the question, we're not really leading with our best strengths. We have an opportunity to, in this new world order that we're in, to really challenge on some very major issues like water and climate and things like that, bringing our Indigenous people much more actively into our foreign policy, but we're not doing it.
Well, I'll ask about another, maybe the number one foreign policy issue for the government of Canada today. Donald Trump's going to be president again in January.
Right.
What do you think they should do about that?
I think that they clearly have to be very wary. There are some very deep economic issues. I wish to hell some of these premiers would shut up for a while and stop talking about kicking Mexico out. You need Mexico.
That's Doug Ford's position.
Yeah, Doug Ford's position, and Smith, and he's out there bragging, all the premiers. Look, if you take Mexico off the table, you're left one-on-one with the Americans. You want to negotiate one-on-one with Donald Trump, rather than having the 2 most important trading countries together? Come on, that's bad politics. And secondly, Mexico is becoming an important customer for Canada. But we've got these guys who kind of, I don't know, what they do in their provincial capitals. Do they sort of put tar paper over the windows or something? There's not much light getting in.
Since you are not holding back in giving advice to the current federal government about what steps forward it should take, let's see how far I can push you on this. Should Justin Trudeau lead the Liberals into the next federal election?
That's his choice, and it should be the choice of the Liberal Party, but it's not, because the tools and levers that were once there were sort of scoured out in 2016 when our Constitution was changed from being a party to a movement. And so the ability of constituencies or provincial groups and so on to hold accountability is gone. And so it's been left up to a group of MPs who have no corridor. There's no rules among which they have to play it. And I would think, if I had to give some advice, which I'm going to do because you invited it, I think what the Prime Minister should do is say very clearly, we're returning to a Liberal Party which has a strong constituency-based mandate to choose candidates, not to have them imposed from Ottawa, to make real decisions about some of the key policy issues, and to invite a much stronger sense of accountability for those who are holding office.
That would require giving up some control over the process,
yes,
which they don't seem quite enamored with the idea of doing.
No. Well, and I think they'll pay a price for that. But if the Liberal Party, I mean, I think it's true that politics has a certain cycle and your shelf life runs out. But I come back to a point I made earlier. When your shelf life runs out, you don't throw away all the elements. I think what we really should be as Liberals working towards is how do we use this period to make sure that we have the right people and some good ideas to bring forward in through that election and out, and help rebuild and restate, redefine a liberalism that really connects with a large group of people and doesn't leave out almost 60% of Canadians.
If Justin Trudeau were not the leader of the Liberals today, whom would you prefer to see in that position?
I don't have a choice right now. I mean, I think I go back to the lessons a little bit that the American Democrats are learning, that sort of having sort of a chosen sort of dolphin doesn't work. I think you have to open it up and let's see who in the rough and scrum of competing for office. And that means you also have to put some limits on the amount of money you can spend, because our leadership thing, we control finance at the election level, but at the party level, your big donors, can really buy a lot of support.